everyone ready? Do you guys want to talk some Star Wars today? All right, by a show of hands, who here saw Star Wars back in 1977? All right. Who at least saw Rogue One in the theaters back in 2016? Okay, good. What? You guys saw Rogue One in the theater? Are you over 13? I'm not asking for an ID, I'm just wondering. Alright, good.
Who saw The Force Awakens in the theater?
Nice. Alright, how about first generation Star Wars fans? Let's see a show of hands. There you go. You're a first generation Star Wars fan? You know?
Well, there you go.
Wasn't the question I was asking, but you know what? That's good. I mean, that's a good answer.
That's a good definition.
All right, everyone. First, we want to start off by saying, Happy May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you.
And what will tomorrow be, everybody?
Revenge of the 5th.
Cinco de Mayo. No.
Revenge of the 5th.
Revenge of the 5th. Okay. This answer of Cinco de Mayo also works as well. Okay, that's good. That's good. All right, guys. My name is Richard Woloski. I co-host the Star Wars Disney podcast, Skywalking Through Neverland. But now, everyone, I want to introduce you to my sweetie wife, Sarah, who puts the Force into my life.
Aww. Hello, everyone. Welcome, you guys. We are here for DK Publishing's book, Star Wars, the Visual Encyclopedia. Who already has that book? Oh my goodness. Well, we want to announce that if you do not have this book, you can buy it right over here, right after our talk with the author. So Richard, do you want to explain what we're going to be doing today?
Yeah, today what we're going to be doing is we'll be talking to the author all about the making of Star Wars, the Visual Encyclopedia. You guys can ask them questions too if you have some questions.
Yes.
You know what? Get them chambered down, okay? If you're holding the book, look through it, get some questions ready, okay? These guys know their stuff. And then from there, we're going to do some trivia. Who is a Jedi Master at trivia? All right, guys, very, very good. All right, who thinks they're better than me? How dare you? Says the Cinco de Mayo kid right over there. All right, challenge accepted, little man. All right, then after that, we're going to be doing some book signings. If you guys have not already gotten your book, you can get them right over here for the low, low price of $32.62. That includes tax, and you can take credit cards. Do you kids have your credit cards? You have a Citibank credit card?
A Citibank credit card.
Can you give us that number, please? And the expiration date.
He doesn't know it.
Okay.
Loophole. Okay.
Whenever a stranger asks you bank information, you just say that same thing. You don't know it. You have $1. All right. Save that $1, okay? Because then you'll need $31.62 to buy the book.
Wow.
Look at these guys right over here, baby. You know what, Sarah? Speaking of $100, why don't we bring out our first guest?
Okay, we are so excited to announce one of the authors of Star Wars, the Visual Encyclopedia. She is my co-host at Fangirls Going Rogue, a Star Wars podcast, and her name is Tricia Barr.
Let's hear it for Miss Tricia Barr! All right, guys. She's not the only author that we have over here. We have another one, Sarah.
We do, and his name is Adam Bray.
Let's give it up for Mr. Adam Bray!
Come on out, Adam. Woo!
All right, so if you're confused, that one's Tricia, and that one's Adam. All right.
All right, so we're going to begin by asking our author. So let's start with you, Adam. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got writing for Star Wars and which Star Wars books have you written?
Sure. Well, I began my author career as a travel writer. I was living overseas writing guidebooks for Cambodia, New Zealand, Laos, and Thailand, and lots of different countries in Southeast Asia. Did that for about 8 years, and then I came back to the U.S. just as Disney bought Lucasfilm and announced that they were going to start making more movies. So I asked one of my publishers, DK, if they needed any Star Wars books written. And it just so happened that they did need a book about the monsters of the movies. So I started with that, called What Makes a Monster. And they liked that, so they kept asking me to write more and more and more and more. So I've done 8 or 9 books with DK, including Star Wars Absolutely Everything You Need to Know, Lego Chronicles of the Force, a couple visual guides for Star Wars Rebels, and I know I'm probably forgetting a few, and I've got
Wait.
Yeah.
Are you guys big Lego fans? Big Lego Star Wars fans? All right, don't bury the lead. Talk about that one.
Lego Chronicles of the Force and Lego Star Wars Into Battle. And I've done some Marvel books too. Marvel Absolutely Everything You Need to Know, and I have Ultimate Marvel coming out in the fall.
Wow.
So they keep me really, really busy.
Exciting.
All right, Mr. Adam Bray.
Woo! All right, and now Tricia, can you tell everyone a little bit about how you got into writing for Star Wars books?
Yes, I was a fandom blogger. I started a blog called Fangirl Blog just to write about the women in Star Wars because I was such a fan and I felt like they didn't have a place of their own. And one of my first things, I see the wonderful cosplayers back there, is there's so many, thank you for coming, there's so many wonderful costumes. One of the first articles I did for Del Rey, which is part of Random House, DK's under them too, was an article detailing a scene in one of the books where Jaina and Jag were together. It was for Valentine's Day, and I spent days going through like 5 or 6 books to make sure I had Jag's costume just down to the T. And then I also suggested he didn't have a Twin Suns patch, and I said the cosplayers would love that. So they designed a patch for him and his Imperial fighter pilot, and Jaina and hers, and then from there I got to write for Star Wars Insider, to interview some of the authors, and I still write for Star Wars Insider about the hero's journey and regular feature, and Sarah and I interviewed Kevin Kiner, the composer for Star Wars Rebels in the latest issue, and then Ultimate Star Wars was my first big DK book with Adam, and that's like the biggest book, right? Because it was redefining canon and where Star Wars was starting off. And so Ultimate Star Wars and this Star Wars Visual Encyclopedia are the books that are on the desks of people who are writing Star Wars stories, writing comics and making movies and making television shows. They all have it, so it kind of freaks you out sometimes when someone will be like, hey, I've got your book on the desk and I love it. And I'm like, oh, so not just for kids, also for the adult kids still getting to tell stories.
I was gonna say, so if they wanna eventually one day write or work in Star Wars, it's pretty good for them to know these books, right?
Absolutely. And it doesn't matter, you still always have to do your research, right? It doesn't matter, even if you think you know Star Wars, you still have to keep looking it up.
All right, let's talk about this book now, the Visual Encyclopedia. Now, Adam, which sections did you write, and what new Star Wars information did you learn by writing this?
Yeah, I wrote a lot of sections, a lot of different sections. The thing about this book is it mixes the movies and the 2 animated series, Star Wars Rebels and the Clone Wars, all together. So in most books I might tell my editors, oh, I want all the stuff about the Rebels, and be a real Rebels hog, because that's the stuff I love. But in this
Like
one,
I'm over there smiling right now.
yeah. But this one, it's all kind of mixed up together, so I can't just pick a single movie or a TV show. I've got to pick certain topics. So I did do a lot of like engine parts and tools and pieces of equipment and things like that. But I also did a lot of plants and animals, creatures, ecosystems and environments. I actually have a degree in biology and used to work with chimpanzees and work at zoos, and DK knows that, so they readily give me all the stuff for living things. And really, the plant section was one of my favorite parts of the book, because it hadn't really ever been written about in Star Wars before. So I actually got to name a lot of the plants, many of which appear in the Clone Wars.
Did you name some plants after some known people or things? Podcasts?
Podcasters?
I didn't name any after podcasters.
Next question.
Oh yeah, I always forget to mention this too. The language section was one of the ones that I did. And that's got a lot of fun phrases from various languages in Star Wars. It's also got the alphabets of half a dozen different languages, so kids can learn them and use them to write coded messages to their friends back and forth, and their parents and teachers will have no idea what they're writing. So, and they can be really cool because it's all Star Wars.
All those parents right now are scowling at you.
Who wrote the musical instruments section? I just saw that page.
I wrote the musical instruments section, which was kind of fun because you had to sort of make things up and look at random obscure instruments in our world and then just make them work. But it's one of the prettiest pages and it's really exciting to do. I didn't ask for it. I was thankful to get it.
Nice.
Hey, do you guys have a special section that you want to talk about? Maybe one of these two authors have written that section? Anyone have a special section that you want to talk about?
Any ideas? Or please.
One of my favorites. This is the outfits for the prequel trilogy for the Handmaidens and for Queen Amidala. And the Tricia Barr who did the costumes actually has a book that I got to go reference, and then we just made it and laid it out. But the interesting thing about this book is they're not called costumes in here because you're in universe. So this would be, you would be living in Star Wars universe and you would pick this encyclopedia up, so they're royal outfits. So I remember when the spread first came and said royal costumes, and I said, well, they wouldn't call them costumes because they live there, so they would call them the outfits. So that was one of the fun parts for me to do. And then we have like all the armor and
occasion wear.
Occasion wear, yeah.
Everyday wear.
To go out to the club. I wrote some of that, yes. Work clothing, which Palpatine has some pretty snazzy work clothing. But yeah, here's the armor section. And it goes down into quite detail. Everything they have that everybody wears. So it's so much fun. And then the helmets. I think you
Yeah, I think I might have done some of the helmets, and Cole did, our other co-author, Cole Horton, who's in San Francisco, working for Electronic Arts and doing interviews about video games today. But he wrote a bunch of the sections on the helmets.
All right, you know what? We have a question right over here from my new friend Charles. Charles, what section's really jumping out at you?
Okay. Which page is the language section on? Because me and my friend Leo are getting some ideas.
They're working on their own special code. Sorry, Mom. It doesn't concern you. Which page is that? Do you have a question about the language?
Language section?
Yeah, what page is it on?
Oh, what page is the language section on? All right.
24, we're being told.
Oh, okay. We're
Got
looking
earpiece
it up.
right here.
Yes.
Yeah, 124.
124, page 124.
Let's skip ahead to page 124.
You know, you could take that language section and translate what things say in the movies if you wanted to know what they were.
Okay, here we are right over here. All right, Adam, is there something specific you want to say? Adam, what if you were an Ewok? What would you say?
Ichawamba!
Or you could say this.
Yep, yep.
I was going to say, Tricia, what would we say if we were Ewoks? Yum, yum!
Right, you have to listen to our podcast to get that inside joke. Sorry.
Anyone else have a question?
Oh, we got a
this
question
will
right
go
down here.
Holden. All right, Holden. What you got?
Have you ever met George Lucas?
Me? Yes. You guys?
Oh, lucky. I have not met George Lucas, but I met his son, Jet Lucas, who appeared as Jedi Padawan and got snuffed out, I think, in episode 3, maybe.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, if you're under 13, you don't know this.
The closest, let's see, I got really close to George Lucas in the last tour to Endor because he went right by and walking with some bodyguards, I mean, like right there. And then at the Rogue One press event, they told the press that if we were really quiet, they would drive in front of his house at Skywalker through that Skywalker Ranch.
Through Neverland. Got it.
And years ago, his daughter, Katie Lucas, wrote some of the Clone Wars episodes, and I wrote a really nice review for her episode, and we got to talk on Twitter. That was when she was on Twitter, and she sent me tickets to the Clone Wars when they were airing around in the movie theaters, which I wish they would put more of them in the movie theaters.
Yeah.
We've had discussions.
Yes.
All right, any more book-related questions? Hold on.
Another question.
Coming at you. Is it book-related, or do you want to know what they meant gallery cards?
I was going to ask, did you always know that you wanted to be writers? And what advice would you give children who are interested in writing or illustrating?
For me, the funny thing is, even though I studied biology, I always knew that I enjoyed writing and storytelling. When I was a little kid, my mom used to read a lot of Farley Mowat stories, like Dogs in the Family and the Owls wouldn't, or the Owls who, or maybe it's Owls in the Family and the Dog Who Wouldn't Be, and Never Cry Wolf, and great books like that. And I really connected with those stories, and I could see myself growing up and writing stories like that. One of the first things that I wrote myself for fun was in grade school. I retold the Ewok adventure movies that came out in the 80s in my own way, the way I would have wanted them to happen. And I drew my own illustrations and made a cover and typed it all up on my mother's ancient typewriter and made a nice little book out of it. So I always enjoyed writing as a hobby, and even when I went to college, it was funny, I had to take core classes in English composition, and I took it with all the English majors, and it was the most difficult class, one of the most difficult professors, and I was the only one that passed the class. All the other English majors, they actually had to redo their term papers and redo the class. So I knew, something was going on, that this would be a direction I would want to go later. And same with illustration. I enjoyed doing that as a hobby when I was a kid. I still haven't really been published for illustrations yet. That's kind of a goal, but as a kid, I always wanted to work for Disney, doing illustrations, and it's just now, I work indirectly through licensed publishers, but I'm basically, living that childhood dream. I just came to it in a roundabout way. But for me, as I mentioned, my biology degree came back to help me because it made me a good candidate to write a book about creatures for Star Wars. And that's something I continue to do in a lot of the new books that are coming out. So, in other words, to simplify for the lesson I've learned is you don't always have to go straight through the front door. There are a lot of back doors. Always look for the things that everybody else isn't doing that might be a possibility. Because if you're always going through the front door, applying directly for the thing that everybody wants to do, there's so much competition and so many limited jobs. But for us, if you want to work in Star Wars, consider working for a publisher or a toy maker like Hasbro or Lego, or a video game publisher like Electronic Arts, like our co-author Cole does. You don't necessarily have to work directly for Lucasfilm or Disney, because those jobs are harder to get. But so look for the back doors, look for the things other people aren't trying.
So now, say these kids leave here and they're reading the book and say, I want to be a writer now. What should be the first step? What should they read? What should they do?
Well, your brain is a muscle, and so you can't get around. If you were on swim team, you would have to swim a lot to be able to be competitive. So your brain is a muscle, so you have to teach your brain to be able to go the distance and to be able to stay awake and to look things up and keep working for 5, 6, 7 hours. So that's definitely something that you need to do. Again, my route was not direct either. I'm a civil engineer by day, and by night I do this. So it's never what you think is the obvious path.
Definitely.
All right, I've got another question right over here from my new buddy Hayden. Hayden, what question do you have?
Have you ever met Dave Filoni?
Yeah, actually Dave Filoni is a really friendly guy. George Lucas is too, but Dave Filoni is, he's much more accessible. So when I've gone to conventions, at some point, he usually comes out on the floor where all the fans are. So I've met him several times, and he's as nice as he seems in the videos. He's a lot of fun.
For people who don't know who Dave Filoni is, was the Padawan to George Lucas before he left, and he's the showrunner for the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, and now all of the animation. And we actually interviewed him on Fangirls Going Rogue. We had an interview with him just in the last month, right after this episode ended. And yes, I've met him a couple times. I did an interview, sat down with him. He is the nicest, most encouraging. He's a fan, and I think we're in good hands with him.
You know what? I want to come back over here to Hayden. Hayden, how did you know who Dave Filoni was?
I'm a big fan of Star Wars Rebels and Star Wars.
Woohoo!
All right.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very
And I
nice.
think we had a
Yeah, next
question
question right over here
Okay.
from little Serena. Hey, Serena. Do you have a question or a statement or a credit card number?
Right on.
Have you met My Little Pony?
Have you met My Little Pony?
No. Well, I did today, but other than that, no.
Adam?
No.
There's someone over here had a question.
She had a question. I have a question.
Oh, I just want to know how long it takes to make this book.
So we sat down to meet with DK in London during Celebration London last summer. They had already outlined it, had an idea, they had a basic concept that was ready to go. They actually had a cover, which is a rare thing. We saw that cover, it was done. And then we started writing in earnest. Between the three of us, we were getting a spread that would have pictures and nothing. So we just knew there would be like little, no words that weren't really words. And that's how we had to start writing and filling it in. So it was about 3 to 4 months for each of us. We're not really working together. We're working on the part we're doing, and we really need to give credit to the young lady Natalie, who looked up all 2,500 images, and she probably pulled up 10,000 or 12,000 images to choose from. And then Ruth Amos, who was our editor, who sort of handles us very gently, prods us in the right direction, makes sure we're staying on time. I'd send a spread and say, ooh, we're going to submit this bit to Lucasfilms. Can you get it along quickly? So, you know, it felt like writing a term paper for 4 months.
Wow.
All right, now I got a question right over here from a young man named Paul. Hey, Paul.
Have you ever been in Star Wars before?
Have you ever been in Star Wars before?
No. I think the closest I've done is sometimes for my job as a writer, I get to interview the people that help make Star Wars. So I get to interview some of the directors, like Dave Filoni, or a producer like Simon Kinberg, who makes a lot of Marvel movies too. And I get to interview some of the actors, as I know Tricia has done as well. So I actually did a book that's coming out in the fall about stormtroopers, and that's going to have a lot of interviews in it with the Star Wars creators. So that's the closest I've come to being in the middle of Star Wars myself.
All right, got another question right over here from Charles, who's got the page open to the helmet section. All right, you guys might be interested in this part of the work here. All right, Charles, what do you want to ask?
I'm back. So, what I want to ask is a few questions, actually. Are there any Rogue One or Last Jedi elements in this?
Rogue One, yes. They were making it, and there was some stuff that we knew that would be in there that we had seen from trailers and whatnot, like weaponry or stuff like that. And then they were also working on the Rogue One visual encyclopedia with Pablo Hidalgo from Lucasfilm, so they had some knowledge in-house to put things in. There's nothing from The Last Jedi in this, so, I know.
All right, and now we have a last question from Michelle.
So I'm wondering, I've lived with 3 people who love Star Wars. What's the best way to get up to speed with all of this when you don't even know a thing about it?
Yeah, well, I think this book's a great start, as well as Ultimate Star Wars, or other Star Wars Encyclopedia. And Star Wars, absolutely everything you need to know. Those 3 books, and the absolutely everything you need to know, which is a mouthful. It's kind of a trivia guide and a fact book, so it's got all the weird, strange, wonderful, little-known stuff, but it also covers the basic foundations. And it's mostly about the characters and groups of characters, but there's also sections about the ships and the locations as well.
Right.
So if you've got those 3, or if you've got absolutely everything you need to know in this book, that's a great start.
And just have fun and have family day every weekend and watch one of the movies. You'll get, I think if you start with the original trilogy, you'll get the basic gist of what everybody likes, and then The Force Awakens is a good. They really worked hard to make it accessible. You don't need to know anything about Star Wars. It helps if you know things about Star Wars, but I think that the characters and who they are in The Force Awakens, you could just dive in and be part of it. And that's out on, now you can get that in Blu-ray and on demand. So.
Or language sometimes.
Right.
Intimidating.
Or if you have any questions you want to ask them later on, their phone numbers are 555.
But I just lied. I do have one more question from right over here, Chris. Chris Alexander, Star Wars origami author.
Fine. Thank you. So during the research for this book, did you come across anything where in this source it's called something and here it's called something else, and how did you deal with that?
Yeah, that's an easy out. You send it to your editor with an annotation, and it says it's different in this book and this book. And you say, I think you should ask Leland Chi about this, and that's what you do with those. So if there's anything, it gets reviewed by the story group. So
Example?
Things that, oh my gosh, I can't remember, but I always have notes.
For me, there were a bunch of senators and senators' assistants, and a few background characters here and there throughout the 6 movies. That would have conflicting names. So yeah, tell them to go. Well, often I would try to figure it out as best I could. So I would go through and search DK's books, and there's I forget what it's called, but there's a book that Steve Sansweet and I think maybe Pablo might have helped, that has a lot of images from the prequels from Lucasfilm's database. It's long out of print, but it's a huge, beautiful book. Check that. Check Wikipedia, but Wikipedia has a lot of duplicate, contradictory entries if you do your Google searches right. So yeah, at worst, send it back to the story group. Occasionally, though, I'd find something. There was an object. I think it was a Sith chalice in Palpatine's office, and basically in the old expanded universe, or in DK's old visual guides, it performed the same function as Thrawn's Ysalamari, which is to create a bubble where the Force can't operate. But under the new it's under the, I guess,
Canon?
yeah, the new canon, but under the clarification of Dave Filoni about George's view of the Force, those things can't really exist. You can't have Ysalamari or objects that are pushing the Force away. So I would have to change what that object does, what its purpose is, because it's no longer valid. And there are things here and there that have to be fixed like that to agree with the new Star Wars standards.
And if they want to reach out to Pablo Hidalgo, what's his phone number?
Well, he's on Twitter, but he's trying to avoid a lot of Star Wars questions.
You kids and your Twitter.
Sticking to Transformers these days.
Ewoks and the Han's blasters are always contradictory. So some of that was just because there was no continuity in what they were doing in the filming. So you could find multiple sources. So I always just say, okay, you guys decide.
Do you guys know what hoojibs are?
Yeah.
Do you guys like white bunny rabbits? Little cute white bunny rabbits? we're very close to seeing them in Star Wars, but you gotta hashtag this, hashtag make Hoojibs canon, okay?
Go on Twitter right now.
There's little cute white Star Wars bunnies that we saw in the Marvel comics of the 70s and 80s, mainly the 80s, so we're trying to get them into the new canon. The cutest little white bunnies, we gotta do it, guys. Serena, get out your phone, hashtag make Hoojibs canon, okay? I know you kids all have cell phones. All right, with that, you guys ready for some trivia? You guys ready for some prizes?